Man drops brick during remodel, finds key inside. As he approached the situation, he couldn't believe what was unfolding. He gripped the key tighter that was in his pocket. His pulse was racing. He knew at this point he didn't have much to lose. He grabbed the key out of his pocket and unlocked the door. He heard the latch click, and he stood back, but it would unravel even more. Ted Louie was a renovator and spent his summer constructing a wine cellar at his client's request in Vancouver. The client's basement would soon be an elegant wine cellar when Ted found something strange that he'd never seen before in all his years in construction. Nothing could have prepared him for what he had found. Renovating basements was something Ted enjoyed doing. It would be cool making a dusty basement into a wine cellar. The clients wanted a rustic look, like something out of a French castle, so Ted decided to reuse old bricks. This idea would give him more than the desired look he was going for. Ted began laying the old bricks and sandstone to give them the look that they wanted. Soon the basement would be starting to have the desired effect. Ted almost had it finished in just a few months. He loved watching the progress of his labor. He imagined the reclaimed bricks. Each had their own story, but he'd soon find something he wasn't expecting. One day he noticed an old faded stamp on one of the bricks while he was getting them ready to lay. He didn't pay much attention to it at first, but soon realized that it was something unique. But he couldn't waste time and continued his important work, leaving the thought behind. Soon he found another brick with a similar stamp. He decided to leave those aside while he worked on the rest. He wanted to examine the stamp more closely. He had wondered what it could mean. He placed the bricks together to see if they could make something legible together. Then he saw it. One of the bricks had a crack. Just as he examined it, he dropped it accidentally, but it turned out there was something hiding below the surface of the brick. He thought that maybe it was just a brickworker's key that had been dropped in there before the brick was set, but that was far from the truth. He was curious about the brick and decided that he'd look it up on the internet. He wanted answers, or at least a better understanding of what was going on. I did some research to find out where and when these bricks came from, Ted remembered. The original company that made the bricks was based out of Vancouver and closed down in 1938. But that's not all. He drove to the factory that once produced the bricks since it wasn't actually that far from him. He wanted to make sure his assumptions about the brick were right before he looked for further leads. The old building was understandably in pieces, just about. The fence was collapsed, so he parked out front and walked the rest of the way to the front entrance of the building. With the key in hand, he walked up to the door. It looked completely abandoned, but to his surprise, the door was unlocked and he walked right through. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, perhaps more bricks with strange stamps or an old account book so he could return the key to someone connected to the factory. But what he actually found was beyond his wildest imagination. It wasn't long before Ted stumbled into a decapitated red brick wall, the exact same as the bricks he was using for the wine cellar. He strode towards it, hoping that he'd find a brick with the strange stamps on it. But as he got closer, he saw something completely bewildering. His hand clasped around the key in his pocket in disbelief. On the wall was a strange lock. It looked completely out of place. Ted took out the key in his pocket and looked at it with suspicion. With nothing to lose, he put the key in the lock and turned it. He heard a slight clink sound and stood in disbelief at what just happened, but the best was yet to come. He pushed the mysterious wall and it gave way. It was a door that led to an empty, dark room, a hidden room in the factory halls. He scratched his head, stood back, and wondered what on earth just happened. Quickly, he got out his phone and started recording. Then he posted his bizarre story online. His story was met with a lot of skepticism. Many people didn't believe that this actually happened. Some commented, "This is a very cool story, but it's just too unbelievable. How does something like this even happen?" But others thought differently. "That's insane," one user wrote, while another wrote, "Wait, where's the treasure? What was in the room?" Unfortunately, Ted didn't find anything but dust and bugs in the mysterious hidden room. He reckoned that whatever this room was used for was cleared out a long, long time ago. Ted never found any account books, so he could try to return the key to someone more connected to the factory. But for now, he's happy just to have this wild story.